So open that page, I'll search for my fix, find what I need in the deep dark abyss.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the AI Skeptics podcast. I'm here with another special guest, Jake.
I can't believe it. 2 for 2.
I know, it's awesome. I feel very lucky to have my good and old friend, Aaron Abrams, here. Aaron, do you want to say what you do for a living?
Hi, everybody. What do I do for a living? I'm a mathematician. I teach in a school of data science, and I'm working on building a mathematical curriculum for data science students.
So
Nice.
we're going to get into that for sure. But I do want to mention that how I met Aaron as a 14-year-old. We went to the same math camp in 1987. We were both 14 years old. I left when I was 15. He left still being 14. So I think you qualified as the youngest kid there.
I think I was the youngest kid there.
And I was the second youngest.
And we've been back many times since.
I feel like that's a brag in math camp terms, right? To be the youngest in a math camp full of geniuses.
Yeah. We definitely snuck in.
We milked it.
I don't know.
We milked it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We were not the least mature, though.
Oh, no.
That was probably Mike Reed, our instructor.
We did get less mature over the course of the summer, though.
Under his influence.
I love how you're also probably each envisioning a particular person when you're like, we were not the least mature.
Right.
We also learned how to
That's why we have bleeps on this thing, right? You can just say who it was.
We also learned how to play bridge that summer.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, this guy, he's going to be my friend for the rest of my life. And that's exactly what happened.
That is what happened.
So we just had Thanksgiving dinner yesterday. It was amazing. Aaron's been doing it forever.
Aaron, are you the executive chef of Thanksgiving?
I used to think of myself that way, but I've been doing less and less. I guess
that's very executive of you.
If you amplify the executive aspect, Like I noticed that yesterday, like I didn't actually make anything.
Oh, that's not true.
I made turkey, but I didn't.
Yeah, he fried 2 huge turkeys.
Except for frying 2 huge turkeys.
I mean, I had this list of all the things I was going to make, and then like we decided not to make one of them, and like another one turned out to be moldy, so we just threw it out, and like it's like okay.
Those are executive decisions too, though, to cancel stuff that was on the list.
But also,
so you're just executive chefing super hard.
Right. I mean, the most important decision was to fill the house with people who are going to cook stuff, and then let that happen.
Yeah, that happened.
Also brilliant.
Lots of good pie left.
So that paid off, really.
Good job getting Kathy down there. Kath, did you cook something?
Yeah, well, Rich and I made like 5 pies and mashed potatoes, and then this morning we made the turkey soup, which is my favorite part, to be honest, is the turkey soup.
Carcass soup?
Oh yeah. I was like, give me those carcasses. Do not throw away a bone. I was kind of adamant last night.
She really likes parsnips too, by the way. She loves parsnips.
I don't. That's a lie. He snuck some parsnips.
You can send them over to me. You can send them to me.
What, Jake?
I love parsnips.
Everybody loves parsnips.
It's my grandma's influence. I think it's Aaron and I are Ashkenaz, so we have a parsnip, gene. I think
that must be it.
It's the gene. Yeah,
that's the explanation.
It is. It's definitely from Poland. Wherever my love for parsnips comes from is somewhere in Poland.
That explains a lot, actually, about parsnips and about you guys. So today we're going to talk a little bit about data science and AI education. But first, I wanted to start because one of my favorite rants that Jake has, and it's really just a very kind rant because Jake is a kind man. But I do want you to have a moment, Jake, to talk about your feelings about AI in education.
Well, all right, I'll go ahead then.
Yeah.
I'm worried that AI is taking over education in a bad way by crowding out room for thinking, critical thinking on an individual level. So that's the direction of my rant. And I'm just going to say one thing and use it as a springboard to you guys, and especially to you, Aaron, since you're teaching, it sounds like you're teaching actual people now. Humans.
Yeah. At least they look like humans.
So, and here's the rant. It's being pitched as a thought partner, not a thought replacer, but I declare there's no thought partnership happening here. Like, it's just a stepping stone on the way to crowding out or replacing streams of thought. So like something like Claude or ChatGPT is being positioned as like, it's going to help you develop your thoughts to their best form, or to make them sharper, or pressure test them. And maybe in some very short-term way that's happening, but I kind of think it's killing the muscle of thinking, like, which is what generates those critical questions. It's replacing the most important parts of thinking and atrophying the muscle that we can all build to do that.
Like, what's an example of this, Jake? Because I've got one in mind. I want to hear yours.
Well, the most trivial and probably widely used thing is improving emails, right? I mean, this is really, maybe you could think of it as low stakes, but how do you write to a particular person and make it sound a certain way? There's a thought process that you can engage in to think about who's your audience and what do they need to hear? How am I going to come across to them? Or you could spit it into ChatGPT and say, make this sound more professional, or make this sound more assertive or something. And I think if you do that enough times and you don't go through the process of unpacking what it means to be more professional or assertive, you're just going to lose it entirely. Like, the most you'll be able to do is ask to sound a way that you don't even understand what that way is.
Okay,
What's
so
your
two
example?
I was going to say, one response to that is like, what AI did Epstein use to get his emails to sound exactly like he did? Because, wow, like that. Okay. Well, yes. I mean, okay, so I think there's two issues here. I want to separate them. One of them is like what it does for you. And I feel like most of the marketing hype around AI is like to you. You feel more convenienced if you use AI in Gmail, right? Or your whatever your email is, or your communications for that matter. Like, it could be copy for like marketing or something. Like, you use it because it makes your job seem easier. But then there's the downstream effect, which I feel like no AI ever touches, which is like what happens to the rest of the world when people start using AI to write things, whether it's email or anything else. And then I feel like the answer is completely grim, right? Because like, I might want to use AI to write to you, Jake, but I definitely don't want you to use AI to write to me. Cause like, fuck you if you do that, you know? It's like, you don't have the energy, time to, like, why should I spend the time to read your email if you haven't spent the time to write it? You know, it seemed like that was like the kind of tacit social contract of email.
That's a great point too. I think there's a total breakdown for listeners too. And I've heard that, I hear that in a professional, context sometimes, where you like, either I or some other professional has just read a document and they're like, well, I gave up halfway through because it's obviously AI, you know. So we do feel violated, I think, when we're handed something and expect it to be written by a person, but it wasn't. And so, I think we sort of have a hostility as readers too.
Yeah, so I have a couple of reactions to that too. So what about, and I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here, but like, you know, it does help, like, so adults who, you know, use these tools properly, I think, whatever, I don't know what properly means, but effectively in some sense, are using them to polish their sentences, but not their thoughts somehow, right? Maybe your point is that polishing the sentence is part of the thought process. I think you said that, and that's true. But it's not the same as like generating the thoughts, right? We're still doing that. And so it's, anyway, that's like a minor thing, but like, so my other reaction, which I'm curious to, so this is like sort of a counterpoint, and I'm curious what you think about this, because I'm sure you've thought about it, is, there is like, I guess people call it like a democratizing effect or something, right? And it's real. So like, I get emails from students all the time that I know are written by an LLM. You can tell, I can tell. Mm-hmm. the first couple times it happened, I was kind of offended. And then I realized like, these are maybe people who don't know how to write emails to their professors, and some of their classmates do, and they get ahead because of the, the conventions that people don't know, who maybe are first generation college students or not English speakers or whatever. And they use this tool to make their email the way that the sort of college advisors say you have to say this. When you write to a professor, it has to look like this. You can't write without punctuation. You can't make it like this. You can't. And they don't know how to do that.
Yeah, but I think you're kind of proving Jake's original point, though. Because, like, it'd be one thing if the students learned how to write to their professors this way. Like, if they were being taught by AI.
But they're not. I mean...
But the thing is that AI has just become a total crutch. They will never learn how to write a proper email to professors, which, by the way, I think people should learn how to do, at some point.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Thank you, Kathy, for defending me. I appreciate it, because that is really... I'm with your defense, but I also want to defend Aaron's side somehow. And here's what I have to say is I think we're early as a species, as a society, in discovering a wise way to use this technology. Like, you started what you said, you're like, imagine an adult who's using it responsibly. Okay, no, efficiently. Okay, good. And we don't really know what responsibly or efficiently or good means yet. We're just early in the adoption, phase of this thing. And I think we're struggling to identify and weigh the short-term gains to the long-term losses. Okay, I write this email to my professor better today, and I maybe do better with this professor in this class, but am I long-term adopting a crutch that I'm going to regret adopting later? We just just haven't lived it out enough.
I guess I was responding partly, sorry to interrupt. I was responding partly to the sort of emotional part of you didn't even take the time to do this. Fuck you. Why should I read this?
Yep.
And I feel like I used to respond that way to student emails that are written with LLMs, and I don't anymore because I see them differently.
Yeah, but if your friend Jake wrote to you with AI, that would be annoying. If I wrote to you with AI,
that would be different. Right.
Right. It's like there's a lack of respect. If you know that the person, if this excuse disappears, I know how to write an email. Mm-hmm. But if I was you, I was like, hey, AI, write to Aaron for me. And by the way, it's impossible. I'm sorry, but earlier point, it's impossible to not be given ideas by large language models. If it writes for you, it is polishing your sentences, it's creating sentences that you would not have written otherwise. And sometimes they're not objectionable and you just let them pass. But they're definitely formulating at least vibe that you didn't intend. If not straight up new ideas that you didn't intend. Maybe. I'm going to use this as a segue to the conversation about your curriculum, if you don't mind.
Please.
Because it occurs to me that it's been 12 years, but 12 years ago, I wrote a book called Doing Data Science. And this was early days. Data science had kind of just emerged. And there was a Columbia class that I basically blogged. And there were a lot of guest speakers, and I blogged every single class. Each one was a seminar. And it was people who were calling themselves data scientists coming to the Columbia University and describing what they did at their job. And it was really the whole book was a meditation on the question, what is data science? Is it a real thing? If it is a real thing, what is it? How is it different from statistics? How is it different from computer science? And, in the course of writing the book, I, concluded that it was a thing. But one of the concerns I had, I remember with it, because I had already been a data scientist myself for a few years by then, in finance, first off for 4 years. But then I had been working as a data scientist, calling myself a data scientist for a couple of years. And one of the things I remembered being worried about and concerned about was that all the tools of data science made it so easy to not really be thinking too hard. For example, there's packages that did linear regressions with priors, and you could just use the default prior or something like that, and wouldn't have to think through what it meant at a statistical level, like what effect you really had. It's just like a button on a wall. And it's so easy to press a button on the wall, but you don't really know what you're doing. And so one of the questions I have for you is like, how much more automated, if you will, has it become in the 12 years since then? Because I really haven't worked as a data scientist since then. Like how many more things have already become default decisions? And like, how much do the students actually understand them? Or how much do they like twiddle them and understand what those default decisions are and how things might be different if they didn't choose those? Like, it's not, I'm just worried that the packaging of these data scientific calculator type stuff has made it like really easy to not think too hard about what you're really doing.
Yeah, well, that's definitely true. And that's like that's one of the central points that we talk about in all of our curriculum design meetings. Like, what are we doing here? And, yeah, they're like Python packages where you just type the name of the, type of neural network you want and, give it as a parameter, like your data set, and it gives you an answer.
Yeah,
right?
That's crazy.
And if you don't know what you're doing, then you're just like being a terrible data scientist. And so we teach, as part of our curriculum, we teach machine learning, and in machine learning courses, we teach how to use those tools and what they're doing and all that stuff. And in parallel, we're teaching math courses that are sort of coordinated with those, where we say, like, this is what's actually going on mathematically. Like, here's the linear algebra that's being done. Here's the computation that's being done. Here's what it means. Here's how it works. And so we're hoping, and we're still in the early stages of this development because it's kind of a new, it's a new idea to put it together this way. But, we're hoping that people come out with that understanding of like how these things actually work and what they're doing and what is the meaning of the decisions they make, whether it's the default decision to just push the button or a decision to change those parameters. Like, we want that to be an informed decision. And for that to be an informed decision, we think people need to understand something about how it works and also the implications. So, I'm teaching math, but other people are teaching, ethics and sort of other aspects of these things, right? So these are all part of the curricular picture.
And I'll add, by the way, that like, I think you're working at UVA.
I'm working at UVA, yeah.
And like, I think they're probably doing it in a very thoughtful way at UVA, partly because you're doing it with them compared to many other schools.
I have encountered a lot of people, it's a bandwagon that you want to jump on because there's money there. And there's not money in a lot of other places. So I'm aware of a lot of places starting up data science majors or data science minors or data science concentrations or data science this or that are like a couple of classes within a computer science department or within a math department or within a statistics department. And I think that's missing like some very important pieces. I think what UVA is doing is not that. And I do think it's better than that.
Yeah.
For those reasons, because, we want people not just to know how to use the tools, but how to think about the tools.
And the fact that you guys have ethics.
Right. So both technically and critically. Right. Yeah.
What does the ethics piece look like in the UVA data science program?
Well, I'm like very much not an expert on this. I don't teach it, and I'm not developing the curriculum, but we have faculty who specialize in this and who research it. And the undergraduate courses are, I think, a lot of case studies, a lot of like, look at this thing that happened, and here was here is an output, here was an outcome. What do you think? Was this ethical? Was this not ethical? Like look at, Jake, you're much more familiar with sort of the classic, sort of the canon of examples than I am actually. But, there's insurance discrimination, there's recidivism studies, there's like all these different things, right?
Yeah.
And the people developing these courses sort of have a really, I think pretty thoughtful, okay, let me step back. It's like, it's not just a sort of a list of case studies. They have, they're developing a framework for how to think about the ethics of what people are doing, right? So they want students to come out with the ability to, when faced with a project, consider the ethics, right? Consider their own ethical responsibility when carrying out this project. Yeah, and I'm on the other side saying like, okay, you need to consider, the mathematical aspects of your project.
I'm glad you're there, but I think it's great. I mean, I was just going to say, I wouldn't say it's just a list of case studies. I think looking at case studies and developing the habit of creative thinking about what could go wrong, spin up a story of how this could blow up, how it could be misused, how it could hurt somebody. Like, that's a creative skill, not really analytic skill. And it's you prime the pump by reading about what went wrong. Like, I don't know. Absolutely. I'm speaking because we spend a lot of our work time, Kathy and I, in algorithmic audits, like doing that kind of imagining ourselves and encouraging other people to do that kind of imagining. We literally ask, like, what keeps you up at night? How could this thing completely mess up? And just drawing it out. And, I think that is an important ethical muscle. And even from, previous work in behavioral science, behavioral psychology stuff, the using time and using your attention to imagine a certain class of scenarios actually expands, according to some psych experiments, like the space of bad scenarios that you can imagine. So it's like, it is a meaningful exercise just to think about those things, and not enough time is spent doing it. So thanks for having it. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And I shouldn't, it's funny, I shouldn't have used the word just there. My friend Roger used to hate that exact usage of the word just. And I at some point taught myself not to use it. And I always think of him when I do by mistake.
All right. Respect,
but yeah,
Roger.
All I meant was that in addition to that, like, there's also this scaffolding of like, how should we think about this?
Okay. So, now we're getting to the really controversial part of the podcast here, which is that, and I, by the way, love what I'm hearing about how UVA has done the curriculum of data science. Like, this is best case scenario from my perspective, especially 10 years ago when I didn't see anything like this. And I still don't see a lot of classes that make kids think ethically as well as mathematically rigorously about the data science. But what I worry about is like, what I don't just worry about, I palpably know to be the case, is that it's really hard to get a job where you get to apply your critical thinking skills in data science. Like we get begged on a monthly basis for a job at our company because people really want to use their ethical, understandings.
Yeah.
And apply data science in a good way, and they just can't find jobs.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for us. Like, I wouldn't say we're doing, maybe I think we're trying to do a good thing. I don't know that we're doing a great job at it because it's still true, like you say, like, people aren't paying for that, and students know that, and so that filters down, and it's maybe not as important to them as we, the faculty, wish it would be. And so we try to emphasize it. We require these courses for an undergraduate degree in data science. You have to take these things. But what's their actual attitude towards it? Well, some of them, of course, love it. And it's kind of the liberal arts side, so to speak, of like what we're doing in a technical, in a mostly technical field. But yeah, like that doesn't get you corporate jobs. It doesn't get you, the jobs that all the hype is all about.
Yeah, when you think about like the hottest job might be working at OpenAI, or sorry, what's it called?
Yeah, like NVIDIA or something.
Yeah, you're definitely not allowed to be critical. Or I mean, I can't speak for it because I've never worked there, but I'm imagining it would be difficult for a junior programmer or a junior data scientist to come in being like, "Hey, let's audit these things for ethical problems."
Unless those problems have already come to light and they know that they need to like protect themselves against liability, in which case they do have an interest in hiring people to do that.
Right.
Right.
That's true.
And that does happen. I mean, companies do hire people to.
Right. Trust and safety. Although they've been firing a lot of those people recently.
Not surprising.
Or having them surrounded by lawyers where they're like, maybe nothing will make it out of their group.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Going back to my original example, Jake, that I was thinking about with respect to like AI makes us stop thinking. and I've mentioned this nightmare scenario to you before, but my mom is like a nerd, so she worries about nerdy things. The thing that she worries about is a solar flare that would destroy the electricity grid on the Earth, and she's like, "Oh, that would be terrible for all sorts of very reasonable reasons." But the thing I keep on fixating on is that like nobody would know how to drive home because everyone depends on Waze to drive home. And so like, and I say this as a lifelong map nerd, that like I go to a new city and I just need to know where the map is. Like I need to look at the map, situate myself. How do I get to the nearest whiskey bar, from here? If all cars stopped working, could I walk there? The answer is yes.
Yes.
In this case. Oh my gosh, Charlottesville has an amazing bar called the Whiskey Jar. Live music every night.
I've heard about the Whiskey Jar. Have you guys done the Whiskey Jar this trip?
Yes, we have, and we're doing it again after the podcast is over.
Love it.
But I think the larger problem is that like nobody is like me anymore. Maybe you are. Are you like me?
The larger problem is that Jake has never been to the Whiskey Jar.
That's a problem we're going to have to solve. I would like to do it. I'd like to navigate there on a paper map with like a little Whiskey Jar sticker on it somewhere. And I go to that.
Yeah, no, I love maps too. And, it's one of these sort of like mixed things, right? Like there are people who like really struggle with navigation and like these things are kind of lifesavers.
Yeah.
And like there's people like us who are like, well, if you just learn, you wouldn't struggle so much. But I don't know if that's true. I mean, I think
Kath,
people really, really struggle.
I mean, let's just say, like, I have gotten lost in spite of my map nerdiness. In our previous lives before Waze and before Google navigation, we got lost and we, oh my God, horror of all horrors, stopped and asked for directions, met new people, got a little flavor of the local, vernacular.
Yeah.
Like literally it wasn't so bad.
But you did that occasionally because you were good at finding your way around. People like Elaine would be doing that like every time she goes to the store. And like, it's nice not to have to do that every time.
Okay.
You go to
No, it's definitely, it's one of those, it's a blessing and a curse. But
right.
I just want to say that I really think that their ability to find their way anywhere, including home, has atrophied. Like people don't know that they could follow the river until a certain landmark and then go uphill and find their house. Like they don't know basic things
landmark-based directions.
Right. So, I mean, there's lots of things like this. And I mean, I think this particular conversation is sort of, it is a nice example, right? Because like it is genuinely helpful for like genuinely like vital for a small number of people. And then there's a lot of people for whom it's like helpful, but not necessary, becomes a crutch, like has this negative side that we don't pay attention to. And there's a few people who are on the other side who are just like, I don't want that at all. I want to find my way around. And I think a lot of things are like that. Like, calculators were like that when they came out, and it was like, okay, do we let the students use the calculators, right? People are comparing the LLMs to calculators in all these education type conversations, right? And I think there are people like my students who don't know how to address me in an email who are using it like effectively, and I don't blame them, and it's fine. And then there's people on the other side who are like, I'm never going to touch that.
Yeah.
And then there's like, yeah. So anyway, I think.
I don't think the solar flare, which is, by the way, as according to my mother, not that unlikely. The solar flare is not that unlikely in our lifetime.
They happen all
I
the
love
time.
to think of like a nerd's, ranked list of disaster scenarios. And it's just like the stuff that's at the top would be so unfamiliar to me. So I love that your mom's has solar flare at the top. I totally agree that, many people would be lost, but like, since I'm determined to end on a high note and watching the clock, I see we're close to the end of our episode. I'm going to say that, I walked past a store in a shopping center over here in Nevada the other day, and it was called Offline, and it was a store full of clothes for young people. It's like athleisure kind of store. It was called Offline by Aerie, which I think is a sub-brand of American Eagle. Chelsea told me, she assured me, this is like a young people store, and it's called Offline, and all the imagery in it is about being offline and having an offline in real life connection with real people. So it's ironic, of course, that that's like brought to you by American Eagle in a shopping plaza and everything, but there it is. It's a subculture that might be interested in the maps, might be interested in finding their way on foot to the whiskey bar, led by a sticker or the smell of whiskey. And that's what I'm pulling for in some large sense, the subculture to emerge and flourish. So, yeah, that's my final thought in place of a pet peeve. But I do have a pet peeve. Kath, you still haven't talked
like
about...
little pet peeve round, really
quick,
like
super
round.
lightning. My pet peeve is we haven't heard about Rome and your trip to Rome yet. So I'm seeding the next episode.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to talk about Rome and the Vatican the next episode, which is next week. Because we're doing this once a week. I love it.
There we go.
I don't have a pet peeve because it's Thanksgiving, but I'm just going to tell you, Jake, that you have been in my car, and you may or may not remember that if you want to roll the window down, you roll the window down.
Respect.
Like,
I'll meet you at offline, Aaron.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for being our guest. Kathy, what's your pet peeve?
Thanks for having me.
Wow, I'm just like so blissed out, Thanksgiving wise. The pet peeve, the parsnips in my turkey soup. That's it. That's all I got.
We're going to reverse that for next episode.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Thanks everybody. Thank you.
See you next time.